weight. Let's see if I can get a pointy thing. Some period tape. It's a Mark 1. Doesn't say Mark 1 because I guess they didn't know there was going to be a Mark 2, 3 and 4. We might melt the whole thing, but if need. There you go, you can probably hear 50 Hertz mains hum. Right, I've just finished oiling and greasing things. So the main areas that I have put grease on is there. I'm not quite sure what that is. It's something to do with I think the auto return mechanism. But that had grease on it before, and it had that kind of rotates. Yeah, the grease had dried, so I'll put some grease on there. I've also put some grease on the underside of this, which is the lift mechanism. So there's some grease on there. Obviously, I previously had oiled the motor bearings. They're sintered oil light bearings. And then on this side, I have... oh, that's right. So I've put a little bit of oil on there. I haven't oiled this. This, I think, is the trip pawl, and that has to be very free to move, so you don't even want to oil that. So I've left that unoiled. I put some oil on there. Oh yeah, so this drive or intermediate rubber roller, that's on a sintered bearing as well. So I've put some oil on that. So there's that. There's that. And I think it's just that then. There's those three on this side. And I'm using some really fine machine oil, like for clocks or watches. So it's really, really thin. Hopefully that's okay. You don't want anything thick. So I've kind of oiled things. So I'm going to start putting this back in the case. And what I've done is refinished the plinth. So not sure how much of this will be in shot. This was it was okay before, but I've just very lightly sanded it and put some Danish oil on. If you know Danish oil, it was I think I read it was developed in the 40s, 50s to be a very quick way of finishing furniture. It's basically a very thin varnish that you can put on with a cloth. Yeah, I mean it's kind of a quick and easy way of finishing wood, but kind of correct for the 50s period as well. And I repainted the black around the bottom. I also just painted the inside black. Before this had been sprayed in the factory, and there was some overspray inside it, so I'd carry on, make it look a bit neater. You can't see this because this is covered by the turntable. So that's come up really nicely, and then I've got the this Garrard badge, which, as I say, isn't period, but I think will look really nice on the turntable somewhere like that. So we'll put that on towards the end. So it's just a matter of getting the chassis back into the plinth. These are the three pads that the springs fit on, and then the screws that you screw down when you're moving this around, like travel screws that clamp the turntable down. They go through there. So it's pretty simple, should be pretty simple to get the turntable back in. So if we drop it down, okay. So you can see that bobbles around on the springs. So if I flip this over, okay. So this is the front, and that's the switch, the mains switch. So what I'm going to do is just put these clips on first. So you if that's the screw, you put them on and then slide them around and clip that over the screw head, just to hold them in position. So put one of those on and get it over the okay, that one's gone on. And then let's try this one again. Okay, that's gone on as well now. Yeah, so they're only used during travel to stop it vibrating around on the springs. Basically just clamps it down. Okay, so then it should hold it in the plinth, which is in Danish, I think. Which we'll leave for okay, there's our on-off switch. Now it's a matter of, yeah, I think it's just cabling everything up. I just realised what I need to do is drill 2 holes there. So the cable clamps for the mains and the signal out are these, what are they called? They're like fibre. I can't remember the name for it. I did Google it. Something like homogenized fibre, something like that. Anyway, they're basically kind of cardboard, but I think it's treated and compressed at great temperature, a lot of pressure. Anyway, these are the cable grips for the mains and the signal out, and these screw to the back or through the back of the plinth to hold the cable. And I have kind of made one because I also need one, because one of the ways that I'm curing the ground loop is going to be having an earth. Instead of earthing through the mains lead, I'm going to earth to the phono preamp. Then you get rid of earth ground loops and hopefully remove hum. So this is the setup that I had when I first rewired the turntable. Just to take you through the rough layout, so we've got the mains ring from the house here, we've got line, neutral and earth going around the house. Turntable is on the left, and the green outer is the chassis, got the motor, then we've got the tag strip and the tone arm wiring coming there, and then going out to the phono cable over to the preamp. And obviously the preamp has its own cabling to the mains, and most phono preamps also have a ground point that you can earth the turntable to. I hadn't used that, so obviously I didn't think that through very well. So we basically created an earth loop from the mains earth here to the turntable chassis. It also earthed the motor, but it goes through the chassis to the tag strip and then out to the phono cable screen, then into the phono preamp and back to the mains. So we have that loop for earth, which can create hum. So what I am about to do is change it to this, which is a very simple change. Instead of earthing the turntable to the mains here, I'm going to run a single cable to the phono preamp and then put a spade connector on the end, and I can ground the turntable here. So that removes the loop. It's still electrically safe, it's still earthed, but we remove the possibility of inducing hum in that earth loop. Yeah, so I've made this clamp anyway for the earth cable that's going to go to the phono preamp. So the idea being that will go like that, and there'll be some couple of nuts on the bottom. So I just need to basically, I think, put these cables in. So I've made up an earth cable. So that's going to go to the chassis, which this screw goes through, and then up to the motor, which I'm going to have to take that off again, aren't I? Yeah. Okay, well, so be it. So yeah, so that's going to go up to the motor. It's basically the other side of this screw, and I can't put it on there because you can't clamp that down because it'll crack the plastic. So whereas you can the other side. So yeah, that's going to have to come off. And then I made up, what I definitely have made up is a new mains lead as well, just 2 core, because I'm not earthing through the plug this time. So the earth will come in from the phono preamp, go to there, go to the motor, and that's everything metal earthed via the phono preamp, not through the plug. So yeah, I just need to run these through here and connect all that up. So I'll bring you back when that's done. So hopefully you can see there, I've just put some nuts on the back of this, and that will hold that. That's the original one. So they just hold and clamp the cable to the back. There wasn't room to do it through the back, so I've just put it there. It looks pretty in keeping, I think. So once I screw that down a bit, the one screw that had a bad thread, I managed to pick it out. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, it doesn't need to be really tight. It's just going to stop the cable pulling out. So one of these goes under this screw, which screws this switch, which I assume is the trip switch for the power off, power on and off for the turntable. So one of the screws goes there, or one of the earthing points, and then the other earthing point goes up to there. So I just need to take that off to get to the flip side of that bolt. That's the mains lead there, earth lead, and then the phono lead comes in, or the signal comes in there, and again it's clamped to the back wall, same as that, and then goes to the signal strip here. So these are the really fine wires that go to the tone arm and the cartridge and the stylus. So yeah, they just terminate on there, and that should be it. So I'm just going to finish that, do a bit of soldering, and then I can put the platter back on and the bottom, and I think we are done. Okay, there's the earth arm, and then just screw this in to its mounting bracket, and then that's done. Might see if I can come up with some way of holding that to the side, just away from this. This is the speed change mechanism, but when it's the right way up, gravity will be on my side as well. But anyway, all right, let's just get the rest of the wiring done. Okay, that's the mains cabling attached. Okay, mains cable, earth cable. I remember now, I cut that off because I test fitted this earlier, a few days ago, and then realised I couldn't get it out of the chassis, so I cut the end off. Brilliant. All right, let's attach this. Okay, again, I need to come up with some way of supporting this cable. Okay, so that, I think, is everything internal, apart from clipping these. Oh, no, I need to put this cord grip on. So, these go through like that, and then this just gets gripped like that. And that then lies flat like that. So it's just a matter of getting nuts on to these screws. Okay, check that we haven't got anything important left now. So they're not. I made because the angle of the tone arm, looking from the side, it wasn't parallel to the record, so the cartridge and the stylus was tipped forwards. I made another one of these spacers that's 2mm thicker. So you can see I'm getting better at press fitting in the brass thread. I actually bought some little things that go in your soldering iron that go through the thread. They're different sizes, or different thread sizes. So this is I think an M3, and you put a brass thing on the end of your soldering iron, then screw this tip that goes into the thread, and you can basically then hold the thread insert vertical as it goes in. So yeah, that's gone in pretty accurately. So this is something I 3D printed, as a 3D printed one slightly thicker. I could go thicker still, but I'm a bit worried about how thick that is. It's very odd that the tone arm isn't lower down at the pivot, but that seems to be how it's made. So I need to fit that, and then I've just got the bearings for the turntable platter, which I think will be the next thing to fit. So I'm just going to see if I've got some cable, some way of clipping this, and then I'll put the bottom on, which just screws on. It's just a piece of hardboard in effect that screws on. Not very exciting to look at, and then we'll flip it over and get on with finishing it. Right, I've just found these in the drawer on my stash of stuff. I think they're brass picture hangers, but I can use these as cable clips. They're a bit more in keeping than cable ties and stuff, so I can just screw one of these to that side and one of them to that side for that cable. So I think they're going to work pretty well. So I'm going to use those to keep this out of these out of the way. And then there's the bottom of the unit. So you can see, I may have said before, I can't remember, it's I'm assuming that's Danish, which that is, and the on-off switches. Don't know if that's the dealer sticker, no idea. And then there's a date, well, there's a number, 11/64/18. So I'm not sure if that's 18th of November 1964. Could be. Don't know. Anyway, that's the bottom that screws on there with the screws. So I'm just going to screw these in. That's all done then we can get on. Okay, there's the cables clamped to the side. They're away from the mechanism. I think we are done here. So that can go on. The bottom plate can go on. If you've spotted anything I've missed, please do say. But otherwise, the base is going back on. Okay, I've put the spade terminal on the end, so that goes to the phono preamp. So I think all that is left to be done is the the platter, and that runs on these things, these bits, and then there's a big clip in the middle to hold it on. So that's like a rubber damper washer that goes on first. Then there's that. Then there's this ball race which needs greasing, and then there's another washer, then the platter, and then that clips it on to here. So I need to grease that. I'm going to oil that, and then we can get that together, and then that goes down the centre to hold it all, well, to hold the record centred. So got that to do, and then I need to change this block that we mentioned before, and then I think we're ready to do some testing. So this plastic washer goes on first. It's quite flat, it's not like an O-ring. Don't know if that's should be or not. but I'll put that on first, then well, there's your first problem. Okay, I'm gonna have to take this back off to get the washers on. Right, 1 minute. A little bit like packing a wheel bearing on a car, but this is a lot easier because it's very open. And the other washer goes on. Then I can put this back on, I think. So this has been lightly greased as well. I think I greased this anyway. Yeah. Then this is the platter, which is cleaned up really nicely. It's incredibly heavy. It's cast aluminium. I think it's aluminium. Got a lot of weight to it for aluminium, but it's pretty thick. And then it's got this steel inner riveted to it, and yeah, very heavy. So that's the motor pulley. This is drive pulley, don't know. But when you press play, that gets drawn against the motor pulley and against the inside of this. So that's what spins the platter. It must be over 1 kilogram, the weight of this. It must take quite a bit of time, effort to get going. But anyway, it's got some momentum once it gets going, so it's not going to, I would think that must help to acts like a flywheel, stabilise the speed. So, oh, hang on, I need to put that circlip back on, don't I? Put that on. Okay, so that wheel and the inside of that needs to be free of any grease because that's friction driving it. Okay, so yeah, let's okay, before I put that clip on, which is a bit of a pain, I'm just going to do a quick test to see what's happening, because you can imagine all that mechanism. I've got no idea where, I've moved things around, I've adjusted things, I've moved things around, I've spun that, taken the drive gears off, motor out, so it could be in any kind of state. So I just kind of want to see does it work? I'm not going to try and play anything, but oh, okay. I was going to say it's very slow. They're on 16. That looks a bit more like it. 33. That's 45. Okay, so one of the last things to do on the Garrard SP25 is to try and make this lid a bit more usable. Unfortunately, it's had a huge crack in it, so I might look for a better one at some point. But what I've done is I've glued the crack with kind of modeller's adhesive. This stuff kind of melts the plastic. It's kind of similar to an Airfix kit plastic. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's very thin, so it gets into the crack and it kind of fuses it together. So it's fairly strong. It's not ideal because if you've ever built an Airfix kit, you know if you get the adhesive on the windows, you're done for. It kind of clouds up the edges of the windows and you know the plastic windows. So unfortunately it's going to do the same to this. So it's, although I've sanded it smooth, it's perfectly smooth, can't feel that at all, but it is visible, so it is what it is. So anyway, so what I did was sanded it with 600 grit, wet and dry paper, just there. The rest of it I've gone over with 1200, and obviously I went over that with 1200 as well. So you can probably see that is quite cloudy. And then once I've got rid of the worst of the marks, I'm then going over with it with a polishing kit. So this is a kit I just bought on Amazon or eBay, I'm not sure. It's got these foam pads. It's I've actually used it on the car headlights as well, and it works pretty well. So I've just got the pad mounted in a drill, and then I'm putting the cutting compound that is from the car as well, and polishing it with that. And the important thing with this is not to, you can use speed, but what you mustn't do is let it get dry, because it will heat the plastic up and mark the plastic, melt it basically. So you need to keep spraying it with water, so it's pretty messy. You're going to get stuff, you know, the polish all on your clothes and stuff, but that's that's my top tip for it. So I'm just going to go over this with the drill. So I won't show you too much of it, but just to show you how I do this. So I tend to put the polish on the pad, give it a bit of a spray with water. So just going to keep going over it like that. I'm going to do the inside first, because obviously I'm kind of marking the outside slightly. Then I'll go over the outside, and then hopefully I'll bring you back and show you the end result. Okay, so it's done. Having said that I wouldn't record it because I'd get polish everywhere, I've now got polish, a million spots of polish all over the camera. But anyway, I don't know how well you can see that. You can see the reflection there, the sky. It's not perfect. I mean, it's pretty good. It certainly looks a million times better than it did. That crack you can still see. Not much I can do about that. I need to probably print something to go in there. I think there was a maker's label. So the problem with these plinths, certainly for like the 60s and before Garrards, most of the plinths and the tops were not made by Garrard. I think Garrard did make some for things like the 0100 in the 70s, but a lot of these were, you know, other manufacturers using the Garrard deck and putting it in their own plinth. So getting a replacement lid for this is going to be almost impossible unless I got really lucky. I don't know, there's no make on the plinth, so you know, it fits perfectly on the lip of the plinth. It's going to be very hard to get another one. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's a real shame about the crack in it, but it is what it is. It looks a million times better than it did. And when I've put I'll put maybe a G for Garrard or something in there, print it, and it'll look a lot better. So yeah, that's done. I mean, that's taken about 40 minutes probably. Kind of polishing it, washing it all off, seeing if, you know, how it looks, and then doing it again. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, I'm going to call that done. Everything's working. All the mechanism works perfectly. Sound quality is pretty good, actually, surprisingly, for a mainstream turntable from the 60s. Yeah, I'm happy with it. The only thing I didn't cover in the video was that I replaced this, which is the idler wheel. It sits between the motor and the turntable platter. The edge of the turntable platter sits kind of under there. The reason I did that, the turntable was running slightly quick. I don't think actually the idler wheel affects the speed, but it was also had a little bit of wow and flutter. So I actually found on eBay that company that make, well, basically Dansette. I don't think it's the same company that made the originals, but the company that owned the Dansette name and remanufacture Dansette tables, turntables, actually remanufacture these idler wheels. I guess these were a pretty standard thing, component in British turntables in the 60s and 70s. So I sent off my old one. They sent me a replacement with new rubber around it. They basically remanufacture them, and it made very little difference, to be honest. The original was obviously in pretty good condition. I think the speed improved slightly, the wow and flutter got slightly worse. I did think about trying to kind of sand the edge of it and smooth it, but I thought, I'll leave it. It's still within spec, and you can't hear any, or I can't hear any wow and flutter anyway. So just thought I'd mention that if you have one of these turntables and the idler wheel is worn, or you have a lot of wow and flutter, it's worth probably getting a replacement idler wheel. You can find them on second-hand on eBay, but you don't know how good a condition those are going to be in. So you can get remanufactured ones anyway. All right, that's it for this video. Next video, I don't know what it'll be. I'm going to restore a leak Stereo 20 valve amp and a preamp. I'm going to work on the staircase of the house, add some mid-century charm to the staircase, hopefully. And that's it for now. See you in the next video.